I'm Li Yu or Yu Li. I teach Chinese language and culture at Williams College, a very small liberal arts college. So what I'm going to talk about is how to design specialized domain courses at the advanced level. The first thing I would like to say is what we mean by domain. So from the previous 4 presentations, we can see that PCA has asked language educators to have some fundamental conceptual changes. One of the conceptual change is to view language learning as a socialization process in a second culture. In this process, the learner acquires a new set of verbal behaviors to function in the target society. They acquire a new way of thinking and doing things. The purpose of language learning is not to accumulate vocabulary and grammar items, but rather to compile enough meaningful experiences of doing things in the target culture so that they can function competently in the target society in the near future. Another conceptual change that PCA prompts us to have is that language learning happens in domains. Just like a child first gets socialized in their home environment, then in school, and then in the society at large, a language learner moves from one domain to another, from the everyday domain to the more sophisticated and finally more specialized domains. If we keep this domain idea in mind, we will have a clearer purpose in our curricular design. For example, at Williams College, we regularly offer 5 levels of Chinese courses. The first 2 years of study are devoted to the everyday domain. At the end of the first year curriculum, a learner can become a happy tourist in a Chinese-speaking region. At the end of the second year curriculum, they can become a comfortable sojourner in a Chinese environment, for example, a study abroad student. Our third and fourth year curriculum is designed to help students tackle more sophisticated domains, such as how to discuss social and cultural issues of the target society. They can appear to be a more sophisticated interlocutor and even an intelligent intellectual when talking with locals on more complex issues. At the 5th year level, our students can take a wide range of specialized domain courses in order to achieve the goal of functioning competently or pass as a skilled professional in one specific area. I say pass because one can be skilled in one specialized domain, but not be able to function well in other domains. For instance, I can give a professional presentation in English in my field of teaching Chinese as a foreign language, but I will not be able to do a presentation on computer science, nor am I able to carry out an in-depth conversation with a middle schooler about their teenage life. At the advanced level, specialized domain courses can help learners develop professional discourses in a more specific knowledge or skill area. In the past decade, at Williams College, both the regular and visiting faculty have developed a wide range of specialized domain courses. Some courses are in the domains of literature, some are in the domains of linguistics, and others are in the domains of cultural studies. A specialized domain doesn't have to be a specific discipline like literature, linguistics, or cultural studies. It can also be knowledge or skill area that the instructor has some expertise in or is deeply interested in. For instance, calligraphy, Chinese medicine, US-China relations, networking strategies in Chinese culture, etc. Such areas of expertise will be really useful for our language learners. So how can an instructor go about preparing for a specialized domain course? First, you want to decide on an area that you are enthusiastic about. Next, you will need to locate appropriate readings for your students. I will use one example to illustrate my point. This semester, I'm offering a new course based on the novel Spring Grass, 春草, authored by Qiu Shanshan. I really like this novel because it shows students a side of China that they usually don't get to see. For this course, I want my students to have a sense of achievement when they can finish reading an entire novel in one semester. I also want them to understand the social and cultural issues that are reflected in this novel. I'm really lucky because an online audiobook has already been developed, so students can access to the audios when they read this novel. In addition, There's an advanced level learning material and website that have already been developed to help learners view and study the TV drama that is based on the same novel. So for me, the hardest job is done. The next challenging task is to come up with a central theme of the course and the weekly topics, as well as the secondary sources in English that will help students understand the issues better. After a lot of reading and research, I settled on 11 weekly topics. You can see these topics on the slide. I'm not going to read them aloud. Since the novel is about the life of a rural woman, how she grew up in a poor village and then move on to an urban city and become a migrant worker, there are a lot of interesting contemporary issues to explore. The common thread that weaves all these topics together is the issue of inequality. Through the discussion of these issues in Chinese society and a comparison with American society, students can develop critical thinking skills and engage with the novel at a deeper level. I set 2 learning objectives for this course. First, students will be able to develop an empathetic understanding of the social, historical, and cultural issues related to rural women's life in contemporary China, especially from the 1950s to the 2000s. Second, they will be able to critically engage through writing and discussion activities with the issues of inequality related to gender and regional differences in Chinese society. The goal is not to criticize China, but rather to help students more easily relate to and connect with the non-elite groups of local people, and to initiate conversations about the challenging issues that face both China and the rest of the world. This course is writing and discussion intensive. I use a class format called Oxford Tutorial to organize the weekly meetings. Students are grouped into pairs, and each pair will see me for 1 hour a week. Before each meeting, one student has written a short essay based on that week's readings and discussion topic, and the other student has read that essay and written a short critique. When they come into our meeting, one student first presents their main argument and supporting evidence based on their essay. So I ask them to present their ideas, and I do not allow them to read from the essay. So when after the first student presents their idea, the other student would offer their critique, and then they begin their discussion. So in such a tutorial meeting, the teacher plays a supporting role as a discussion facilitator and participant. The course assessment is based on how well the students conduct the discussions, the quality of their essays, and their revisions based on the critiques from the professor and their partner. And at the end of the semester, I will ask them to compile a writing portfolio based on their revised essays. So this course improves not only students' listening, speaking, and reading skills, but also their academic writing and critical thinking skills. When designing specialized domain courses, I think instructors need to keep the following design principles in mind. First, we have to move away from the idea of textbook and think more in terms of text. We should try our best to find real, authentic materials for our students and believe that they will be able to handle the materials with proper scaffolding. The teacher's job is no longer preparing vocabulary lists or grammar explanations, but more importantly, we have to find the best primary and secondary readings and to come up with thoughtful reading and writing prompts that would enhance class discussions and push students to think and write more critically. The themes and topic of a domain course should be carefully chosen and have a wide appeal to students. Students should be trained to become autonomous learners who can handle learning on their own. Instruction should be differentiated and individualized. Because the instructor needs to spend a lot of energy developing such a course, this course should belong to the instructor. This way, the instructor would have a sense of ownership and seeks to further develop the course materials when they offer it again. To conclude, language study is a humanistic endeavor. It can be done with fun, meaning, and purpose. language learning is not just a tool, but has an inherent constitutive value. It can shape a learner's persona and their second cultural worldview. If we begin to adopt this concept of domain, then we realize that the traditional dichotomy between the so-called language courses and the so-called content courses is no longer valid. For one thing, how can you ever conduct a language course that has no content? Some teachers might ask, is this idea of a domain course the same as content-based instruction, CBI, or content-based language teaching, CBLT? Actually, CBI and CBLT still presume that language and content can be taught separately. In PCA, however, even at the beginning and intermediate level, you have content. The content is how to conduct yourself and communicate effectively in the everyday domain in the target culture. Every PCA class is both a language course and a content course. Language and content is inseparable. It's time that we abandon this dichotomy of language content and think of language courses in terms of domain. If we can change this mindset, we can also transform ourselves from being merely a language instructor to a true language educator. So if you're interested in learning more about PCA, please subscribe to the PCA WeChat channel or visit the PCA resource website. And also, I would like to show you a video clip of a tutorial meeting that I'm teaching right now. So the students are learning springgrass, 春草. So in this clip, the male student has written an essay that week. We were talking about the issue of women's education and the phenomenon of favoring sons over daughters, 重男轻女的问题. So in that essay, the male student makes an argument that springgrass was always suppressing her own emotions. The female student, who is a heritage speaker, points out that this may not always be the case. So they have a back and forth on this point.
我的问题就是春草是否不断的压抑自己？因为我同意，在很多场景下，他明显被重男轻女这个态度或者社会给他的期待，被压抑。但是特别是他小的时候，他经常企图反抗这些期待。比如说，他小的时候就是要上学，所以他不肯吃饭。或者青少年的时候不肯跟别的男孩调情，调情，
调情，对。
虽然这算是正常的行为，但是所以我想说的就是他有时候好像没有不断的压抑自己。虽然我最终还是同意安德的论据，因为他长大以后就好像更愿意跟男孩调情，也认识他以后还是要嫁给别人。我想提出的细节就是有可能长大的过程中就是让女孩子内化这些儒家思想的态度。
这我觉得有可能。你说关于春草小时候的行为，我觉得你说的完全对。他那时候一点也不压抑自己可是那还是他小时候那时候社会对他的要求还没有那么大那么明显可是他长大了之后我觉得他开始非常非常明显的压抑自己我觉得你提到了他那时候跟阿明调情可是那好像从我的角度来看，那只是例外而已那只是因为阿明对他那时候那么好，然后他很少遇到那样的对待 可是一般来说，他想象以后要嫁给谁的时候，他是想象什么非常理想的丈夫，什么会帮他逃离这个社会的丈夫，而不是因为他只是那么希望能嫁给男人不是，那不是他的梦想，而他的梦想是逃离这个社会所以我觉得他把社会想让他社会给他的那个对象就是找丈夫然后他自己内心的梦想是逃离社会，所以我觉得他把那两个梦想混起来。
所以找丈夫就是逃开梦村的一个工具。
那是那是我读时候的感觉。
那我的问题
So as you can see, the students have to listen to each other very carefully and think on the spot to respond, to agree and to disagree with each other appropriately. They have to engage with each other in this discussion.